Hey guys, NC85. Got another upgrade for my AR today. I got my hands on a Mega Arms tactical trigger, and this is what's considered a single stage adjustable trigger. Now it's not adjustable for poundage. However, what it is adjustable for with these set screws is creep and over travel. And what that makes is for a very, very crisp single stage trigger. And when the gun goes bang, the trigger stops and resets very nicely. So, let's jump into it. I'll show you exactly what you need to do. The tools you're going to need is probably some type of small hammer and a couple of punches, variety of size. You're going to need some thread lock, and you're also going to need, off of your old trigger, the disconnector and disconnector spring. That's all you need from the old trigger. So you want to hang on to those. Just real quick, I got my scale here. We're just going to measure the difference between the old one. So we got the trigger and the disconnector spring and the disconnect. So we got 1.3 ounces on that one, and the Mega is 1.5, 1.4, so it's like 0.1 ounce difference. So there's really no weight difference between the two. I am not going to show how to completely take out your trigger and hammer, only because I have a number of other videos that show exactly how to do that, and it's pretty self-explanatory by tapping out the hammer pin first, taking the hammer out, and then tapping out the trigger pin, taking the trigger out. And that's all there is to it. So I'm just going to jump right into this trigger here. You'll notice right off the bat that the difference between this one and, like, let's say a mil-spec trigger, this one is a CMMG trigger, is that this one has two legs to the spring while this one only has one. That is normal. This one has adjustable set screws on the bottom, as you can see here, that allow you to adjust the creep and the over travel. So the first thing we need to do is, in the box you have a Allen key. You're going to want to remove these because you need to apply some thread lock. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove these, put some thread lock on them, and show you the next step. So after you have the thread lock on it, you want to screw it back in, and what you're going to do is you're going to just screw it until it just becomes flush with the bottom of the trigger. Right about there. So you want to do that for both of them. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, so I went ahead and removed the pistol grip and removed the entire fire control group. And now I have my Mega trigger, my disconnector spring, and my disconnector. So first, let's take the disconnector spring, and you can see there's a fat end and a skinny end. Fat end goes down. You're going to put it right in here. Okay, so that's how it should look. So your disconnector, see there's a hole here. That hole lines up with these holes, as you can see there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a tiny bit of grease right here and right here, right where it would rub. So we have our disconnector spring in, our disconnector, and you can see there's a hole right here. Just going to make sure that the spring is seated correctly. I put a little bit of grease on the sear too. And now we'll just drop her on in. You may have to push down on the disconnector a little bit. Line everything up and just push that on through. Now after we have the trigger in, just dropped in place, disconnector works, pins in. Now we're going to take our hammer, spring should be facing like so. This part, because the flat part is the part that faces the front of the receiver. So these legs should be facing the front, and when you go to put it in, the legs will come underneath and be bent back. The legs will be placed right over on either side. Bend it down. There. So that's in correctly. Okay, so we're going to want to cock it, and now we're going to go ahead and put our safety selector back in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to finish putting the pistol grip back on, along with the safety detent and safety spring. So everything is kind of installed before you adjust the trigger. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, I got everything put back together, and everything does function. So, as you can see, there are two small screws. We're going to go ahead and make sure the hammer is cocked. We're going to take the supplied Allen key and adjust this back one, the one that's towards the rear of the receiver. We're going to tighten this one until it touches the bottom of the receiver. And then after it touches the bottom of the receiver, and you'll know because it won't turn anymore, you're going to back it out about one turn and then another half turn, so 1.5 turns. Okay, so there's the bottom of the receiver. So now I'm going to back it out 1.5. Make sure the safety still functions. Okay. Now the front one we will tighten to remove all the over travel, and the over travel is after you press the trigger. It's the amount of movement the trigger can still have. So after you pull the trigger and the hammer falls, you want the trigger to just stop. So that's what we're going to adjust here. And you can do that by releasing the hammer. And this is all over travel here. So we're just going to tighten that up. So that takes care of all the over travel. So now that I have that adjusted, I'm going to switch it to fire with the hammer cocked. Keep my hand in place here. Pull the trigger. And I'm going to keep pressure on the trigger and then put the hammer back. And we're going to test to make sure it catches, which it does. And that's what you want to happen. So there we are. All installed. Safe. Works, fire, everything is good to go. Let me switch camera angles and show you the side view. Okay, it's on fire. Look at that. There's no over travel whatsoever. Watch this reset. How nice is that, seriously? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and slap the upper on, since that has my bolt carrier group in it. As you can see here, I got our trigger pull scale, I got it all the way down to 0. And we're all cocked. So let's see what kind of trigger pull we got here. First one, just about 5.5 on the nuts. Do it again. That one's a little closer to 5. So I'd say 5, 5.5. So hopefully this video was helpful, guys. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment below or send me a PM. I'm very good about getting back to you. Have a good day, guys. See you later. Sexy battle arms development, crank levers. Anyway.